From the first sharpened stick to the silent hum of a drone overhead, the story of humanity is inseparable from the story of its conflicts. How did we get from throwing rocks to commanding armies of robots from half a world away? Let's trace the incredible and often terrifying evolution of warfare. Our journey begins hundreds of thousands of years ago. Early humans, armed with nothing more than primitive spears and stone axes, fought for survival. These weren't battles as we know them, but desperate skirmishes for resources, territory, and life itself. The weapons were extensions of the hand, designed for the hunt, but just as effective against a rival tribe. The strategy was simple: strength in numbers and the element of surprise. This was warfare in its most raw, primal form. Fast forward to the Age of Empires. The Romans didn't just invent new weapons, they invented the professional army. Picture this: the ground trembling under the synchronized march of thousands of legionaries. Each soldier is a cog in a perfectly engineered machine, protected by a large scutum shield and armed with a gladius, a short sword designed for brutal close-quarters combat. Their formations, like the impenetrable testudo or tortoise formation, were marvels of discipline and tactical genius. They built roads to move their armies, siege engines to topple cities, and a logistical network that could sustain campaigns for years. For Rome, war was not just a fight. It was an instrument of state policy, executed with ruthless efficiency. They demonstrated that organization and discipline could conquer brute force, a lesson that would echo through the centuries. After the fall of Rome, Europe fragmented. The disciplined legion gave way to the feudal limb, a walking fortress encased in steel plate armor. Warfare became dominated by these elite, heavily armed warriors on horseback. The battlefield was a chaotic clash of steel, with knights charging into the fray, their lances shattering against shields. But the true symbol of this era was the castle, a stone behemoth designed to withstand months, even years, of siege. Attackers would wheel up massive catapults and trebuchets, hurling giant stones to smash through fortified walls. Sieges were grueling, bloody affairs of attrition. Yet, a simple piece of wood and string would begin to change everything. The English longbow. In the hands of a skilled archer, it could unleash a storm of arrows that could pierce plate armor, proving that a trained peasant could defeat a noble knight from a distance. The age of the armored elite was beginning to wane. Then came the boom. The arrival of gunpowder from the east changed the face of war forever. The thundering roar of the cannon announced a new era. Suddenly, those impenetrable castle walls that had stood for centuries could be reduced to rubble in a matter of days. Stone fortresses gave way to new starfort designs meant to deflect cannon fire. On the battlefield, the musket replaced the bow and the pike. Armies now stood in long lines, firing volleys of lead balls at each other in disciplined succession. It was a terrifying calculus of firepower. The individual skill of the knight was replaced by the collective discipline of the firing line. War became louder, deadlier, and more impersonal than ever before. This was the dawn of gunpowder empires, where victory belonged to those who could field the most guns and the most soldiers to fire them. The Industrial Revolution didn't just build factories, it built a new kind of war. World War I was warfare on an industrial scale. Millions of men were fed into a meat grinder of trenches, machine guns, and artillery. The battlefield became a stagnant, muddy hellscape where progress was measured in inches and casualties were counted in the millions. It was a war of attrition where entire nations mobilized their economies and populations for the sole purpose of conflict. Just 2 decades later, World War II unleashed a new doctrine, blitzkrieg, or lightning war. The static trenches were replaced by the rapid, mechanized punch of tank divisions and the terrifying scream of dive bombers. The battlefield became fluid and fast-moving. Aircraft carriers projected power across vast oceans. Battles were fought and won in the skies, and the conflict became truly global. The war culminated in the most devastating weapon ever created, the atomic bomb. With the destruction of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, humanity entered the nuclear age, possessing the power to annihilate itself. The Cold War that followed was not a hot war between superpowers, but a tense, 50-year standoff under the shadow of mutually assured destruction. The primary battlefield shifted to proxy wars, espionage, and a relentless technological arms race. Today, we find ourselves on a new, invisible battlefield, the digital frontier. Conflicts are now waged not just with bullets and bombs, but with bits and bytes. Cyber warfare has become a critical domain, where hackers can cripple a nation's infrastructure, its power grids, financial systems, and communication networks without firing a single shot. On the physical battlefield, the soldier is changing. Special forces, elite, highly trained operatives carry out surgical strikes with unprecedented precision. And increasingly, they are not alone. Drones, from small reconnaissance quadcopters to large armed predators, have become ubiquitous. They provide persistent surveillance and the ability to strike targets from thousands of miles away, blurring the lines between combatant and civilian and raising profound ethical questions. The modern soldier is as much a tech operator as a warrior, connected to a vast network of sensors, data, and remote firepower. So, where do we go from here? Artificial intelligence is already being used to analyze battlefield data and identify targets faster than any human ever could. The next step is autonomous weapons systems, so-called killer robots, that can make life or death decisions on their own, without direct human control. Imagine swarms of intelligent drones coordinating to overwhelm enemy defenses, or AI generals planning strategies that are beyond human comprehension. We're also seeing the development of hypersonic missiles that travel too fast to be intercepted, directed energy weapons that use lasers to disable targets, advanced space-based assets that could become the ultimate high ground. The evolution of war is a relentless march of technology, a constant search for an edge over the adversary. From the first thrown stone to the autonomous drone, each innovation has made conflict more complex, more destructive, and more far-reaching. As we stand on the cusp of this new era, the questions we face are more critical than ever. How do we control technologies that think for themselves? What does war look like when the battlefield is everywhere, from cyberspace to outer space? The story of warfare is the story of human ingenuity, but it is also a cautionary tale. The future is unwritten, and the choices we make today will determine whether our most advanced creations lead to a more secure world, or to a level of destruction we can barely imagine. Thanks for joining us on this journey through the history of conflict. If you found this fascinating, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more deep dives into the forces that shape our world. See you next time.